myself real quick. My name is Garrett Sauls. I'm a content manager for Interworks. We're a data IT consulting company, globally based, UK, Australia, US, of course. That's pretty much me. I joke that I'm a corporate English teacher and that I just get smart people to talk about things and I annoy them. I'm a professional little brother, if you will. So that's me. I'll kick it over to Annabelle to introduce herself.
Yeah, my name is Annabelle. I'm joining today from Switzerland. And like I always say, I'm very delighted to be here and doing this co-host webinar with Garrett. I welcome you in my family, Garrett. I don't have like a younger brother.
Thank you. I'll take that.
So I have 22 years experience in data. I have worn many hats from data analyst, lead Tableau developer, Tableau enablement lead, and I'm currently serving as self-service enablement and success lead for a reinsurance company. And one of the things that's become crystal clear for me is that enablement is crucial to the success of the organization. So that's why I love doing this enablement webinar series with Garrett, because we are always learning from our guests. And today we have a special guest. It's my great honor to welcome Katrina Menne, product evangelist for Sigma, sorry. A warm welcome, Katrina. Thank you for joining. I will start with the first question that we have. Your career has taken you in a lot of places, ranging from in-house consulting and now vendor roles. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how this experience have shaped you?
Yeah, so I originally went to school for social studies education and then realized that I did not want to teach kids. And so I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. And I needed a job. And eventually I ended up at a job where I was supposed to help our sales team basically move data into PowerPoints. And it was literally wait for someone to email you a spreadsheet, copy and paste the data into Excel, like take a screenshot of the pivot table, pop that into the PowerPoint, and then email it off to the salespeople. And there was 5 of us on this team supporting our entire sales organization. I remember thinking like, there has to be a better way to do this. It was so boring and tedious. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like, what are we doing? And so I just went out and I Googled and I discovered macros in Excel, which if you're unfamiliar with that, it's basically, when I started, it was basically like a shortcut. You could record what you were doing and then it gave you the code behind what it was doing. And so I decided to like poke around with that and kind of figure it out. And I ended up automating our entire team's like week-long job down to like 3 hours. And I was like, oh, this is the thing that I want to do. This is where the future is going, is to be able to scale with those sorts of things. And so I wanted to continue down that path. And I thought, well, I've automated the first part of that. Now let me try and automate the second part of it, or the back part of that, which was receiving the data. And we always had to do some manipulations and some fancy VLOOKUPs to get it. And I was like, well, if I could just access the data myself, then I could, use that and make it even faster. And so I taught myself SQL so that I could talk to the data team. And then basically they were like, no, we don't do that. We don't give access to little minions like you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to leave then. And so I went out and I found a job that was exploring and using data. And so that landed me a job using Snowflake and Tableau, and then eventually Alteryx. And I was the only data person at this company. It was kind of a newer company that was trying to use data in an industry that no one was really using data to make decisions. And so it was super exciting because like they were kind of taking a chance on me and I was taking a chance on them. And I very quickly realized that I didn't know what I was doing, or there were a lot of things that I didn't know what to do. And one of the biggest things that really made me realize that was that there was a lot of questions where I have of like, I could do it this way or I could do it that way, but I don't know what the best way to do it is. And I don't know how to make that decision. I don't know all of the ramifications of a lot of different things. And so I started trying to Google and find resources and do those sorts of things, and eventually landed in the Tableau community. I went to our local Tableau user group, and that was really helpful because it was other people to talk to and other people to learn from. And so I became really involved in the Tableau community, eventually started working at a consulting firm. And then that's where I got introduced to Sigma. And that was also a light bulb moment for me of like, oh, this is where the future is going. There are so many things where it's like, but of course, like why else would you do it any other way than doing that? So I spent a long time working in Sigma, doing hands-on keyboard, creating content, and then worked at a different consulting firm, and then eventually joined Sigma to be the product evangelist, where I get to spend my day just talking about how cool Sigma is and all the cool things you can do with it.
I love that. That's a great background. I'm curious what it was about, Sigma that stood out to you, whether it's the
Mhm.
community or the tool initially, what what
Yeah.
what caught your eye? What were those first things where you're like, oh, this is different?
Yeah. The first thing that really caught my eye about Sigma was pivot tables. Like it's not that necessarily all that exciting, but I was working on a project and my stakeholder just wanted pivot tables. I think in the data community, we kind of joke about this, like, oh, if you're asked to export it to Excel, you're doing something wrong. But I think that pivot tables are really great at a lot of things and that they're very easy to understand and they're very easy to manipulate. And it's also what my stakeholder wanted. And so it was something where I had to go out and discover how to make pivot tables in Tableau. And that was actually one of the first blogs that I ever wrote. And I think it was like 25 plus steps in order to be able to do it, because you had to handle all these like multi-select parameters and if scenarios, and there's these big long things. And it was super fun for me to be able to figure that out and kind of work with that side of my brain of like solving complex problems. But they're built in to Sigma. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, why not have them built in? And then the other really big thing that was a big driver for me learning Sigma was the fact that since Sigma sits on top of the warehouse, you can look at and use and analyze billions of records of rows. And that was also a problem that I kept running into with Tableau, where it was, hey, I have to make this extract, or I have to like force my end user to look at it at different granularity. And so to just have these like very simple things like built in was a kind of the spark that initially drew me to Sigma.
You mentioned, Katrina, and I'm sure that you will kill me with this question, that you're currently a product evangelist. What your day-to-day look like? And I'm sure that
Yes.
every day is different.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely chuckled a little bit when I saw that question, because every day is very different, which is super exciting. Like it's really fun to be able to work on different projects and do different things, because a lot of it is about setting up programs or initiatives to kind of help things run. There's only so much that I can do in one day, but being able to help scale things is really like where I'm trying to put a lot of my effort into. But I would say that for a while it was creating more content specifically around Sigma. We did product launch. We did quarterly product launches for a while, so it was helping with those. We pivoted into doing shorter or like weekly product launches. Basically, that was something that there's Sigma's releasing so much stuff all the time that even internally it's really hard to keep up. And so we wanted to make sure that folks understood like all the cool things that were coming out. And so we pivoted to weekly ones. We also had our first ever in-person conference this year. So there was a lot of initiative, a lot of work put into the content, organizing and getting that all set up. And then lately, my day-to-day has been focused on Sigma Public, which is our free version of Sigma where you can create assets and kind of share it with the world. And so there's a lot of things around what that should look like, what features there should be, and just making sure that it is a good spot that people want to hang out.
I love that. You had mentioned Sigma Public, and maybe now's a good time to do it. We still have plenty more questions right to ask after,
Yes.
but I mean, what better time than now to show that? I know you have something prepared, but
Yeah.
and this is great too because I've only just like myself like cursory looked at Sigma Public, so I'm kind of jazzed to have like an expert walk me through like, okay, here's
Yeah.
what's cool, here's what you can do, that sort of thing. So is
Yeah.
that something you're ready to share?
Yeah, I definitely can do that. I guess as a little bit of an intro, in case
Yeah.
anyone isn't familiar, Sigma, as I said, Sigma Public is a free version of Sigma where anyone can create applications and check out what other people are doing. And this was the in-person conference and Sigma Public were the two things that I have wanted for like the longest time in the Sigma space, because when I first started using Sigma, there wasn't a spot for me to meet other Sigma users, other power users, and to share that insight or to share those solutions and really just see what other people were doing. And so it's been super exciting for me to be able to be a part of like bringing both of those things to life, because those are again the things that I wanted. So I'm going to share my screen. Um, So this is Sigma Public. As you can see, it's Enterprise Apps Made Easy. If we scroll down a little bit, I will say Sigma Public has been out for less than a month now, maybe a month. And so there's tons and tons of things that we're looking to do that we've got on our roadmap. But again, we're really excited to just have a spot where we can start to do these things. But what we're focused on is, again, creating applications or creating kind of replicating that Sigma workbook experience. So here we've got some featured apps. We've got some more apps that people are creating, as well as some featured builders, just some cool people who are building cool things. Another featured app. This app in particular is one of my favorites. Earlier or at that in-person conference, we did a challenge that's kind of who can Sigma the best, our Sigma Builder Challenge. So this is from Linda, our Golden Goat winner. So the Builders Challenge first place. And what's super cool about this is after the event, we saw we just kept getting it like, hey, how did Linda do this? How did this person do that? I want to see what they did. And now you can see this. So this is something where you can experience this, and I can, see how Linda created this app. So this is something where, she's trying to mimic kind of that login type experience. And I can request access, and, of course that would go off and do something else, but just as a way to get insight or a way to start using it, we can kind of fake that we have access. So please don't do this as like actual security. We have better ways to do security in Sigma, but this is just an example. And that's, again, part of like the fun of Sigma Public is, we'll see the example. So again, this is an app that I get to go in and I can play around with. I can say, I want to do the last a couple of months or something like that. I can go to like a workforce planning. I can submit a new role request for something. So this is, again, if you're new to Sigma, this is one of the things that we do is we create applications like this to have different, let's say we want to have a financial analyst and have this salary of maybe 75,000 to 100,000, something like that. And we can submit the rest. Oh no. I will have to tell her about that one. That one isn't a change that we need to make. But in theory, you could submit that request. And what's also super cool about Sigma Public is that, yes, this is like the front end version of it. But if I want to, I can duplicate this app into my own account, and I can learn from Linda. I can learn how she created all of these things. So for example, here's this no access modal that she created. We can see if there's any other actions that are applied in there. So this one, for example, when we clicked review the app, it navigated to a different page, and then it also closed this modal, so we don't have that modal up anymore. So this is the meat of Sigma Public, I guess, is this ability to look at other things that people are creating and understand and learn from those folks. Of course, I can also make my own app. So if I click on this to make a new one, give it a second to load. Oops, I made that. Sorry, I was clicking the wrong button. I got overexcited. That was that was making the app public. So this would be something that is hey, I made this, and then I want to have other people be able to look at it. So let me just go to my profile, and you can see the apps that I have made on the back end. So that's the one that we just copied, and we saw that it's private. These are the public apps that I've created. And so you can see this is another area for Sigma Public, or thing that I'm really excited for Sigma Public. And as I mentioned in the beginning, one of the things that is so great about the data community is how generous and how open it is. I have found that people generally just want to help people solve problems. And so this was something that people kept asking me how to do it. And I was like, oh, I know how to build this solution, or I know how to create a group action in Sigma. So again, from Tableau, if you click on multiple bars and then you want to create a group from there, you can get that one in a single group. So I just wanted to create basically a how-to blog of how to do this. So this is an example of what it would be, and then the steps for how you would do that.
Nice.
But then going back to this, just to create a new app, I will click the right button this time. And again, now we're brought into this workbook creation experience. And so I can make a new title of my very cool app, put a description in here for whatever we want it to be, tag it for different things. We'll save that. And then I'm brought into this workbook building experience. So down here on the bottom, okay, yeah. We've got our AI Builder Assistant, so I can use this to help me build different things or understand how Sigma works. And I can use this, or I can just connect to data in that we have provided. So here we have some sample data. This is a lot of different examples, as you can see, depending on what you want to create with. But then we also have input tables, which are our ability to write back to the warehouse, which is how we create those apps, how we power that interaction. But we can also upload a CSV. So if there's something that you want to make a workbook about or want to make an app about, but it's not on our on our sample data, you can bring that in for yourself. One of those, for example, oh, yeah, we're okay with going back. One of those, for example, would be like I created one about one of my favorite bands. I did one about the TV show Alone because that was something where I was having a discussion with a coworker about what were the best items to bring on the TV show Alone, and I was like, I'm going to prove this with some data.
I love that.
We just say maybe I had some indications of what you should bring or not bring. And then last summer I went to a concert from Hans Zimmer, and I was so inspired because of course you go to a concert and you want to make an app about that. So I made this one, which is like a quiz that you can experience and just like see if you can answer questions about here we'll do that one as a fake one so you can see how well you know the music of Hans Zimmer.
Mm-hmm. I love that. This is kind of a basic question, but I just love to hear your answer to it. And I think we've seen a lot of the answer to this question, like put on display in this demo of Sigma Public. But in your mind, what is the difference between, we're talking like the old school Tableau dashboard and the Sigma app, and what's the advantage of that really?
Yeah. It's taking action. In short, good data analysis should always be driving towards some sort of action for the business, whether it's starting to do something, stopping to do something, or facilitating some sort of workflow. We think about data-powered decisions, data-driven decisions. That's been such a buzzword for so long, but a lot of other systems require you to say, oh, I'm going to go over here for my data analysis, and then I'm going to go to this system, and I'm going to record that action or record that process or something. Or as we said before, like I'm just going to manage it on my desktop in Excel or in a to-do list in something else. And Sigma is a way that you can analyze data, build and capture those workflows, as well as layer on agents and AI, which we can talk about in a second. But that's really the difference, is being able to capture the process and the workflow that goes around all of the day-to-day things that we do in our normal lives. I would also say one of the things that separates us from a lot of other vibe coding platforms or application building platforms is the fact that we are a secure and scalable way to bring those applications to your end users. So I think about my husband works in IT, and he's had a lot of fun over the last couple of months with people bringing him vibe coded apps. And it's just like, it's kind of funny to watch him and you're like, oh, I'm sorry you have to deal with this sort of way, but it's just like this, hey man, that's our company data. Like, how are we going to secure or make sure that no one on the internet can access this app? How are we going to make sure this passes IT, or it's got PII, and we got to make sure that we're doing all those sorts of things. And yeah, you can create an app really quickly, but how do you bring that to your organization? How do you secure it and scale it? And so Sigma is the way that you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I really like the interface, to be honest. I think that is quite easy to learn for what I have seen. Still, it can be very, very powerful, because with this application to write back or to take action, yeah, that's why you were always referring to an app and not to a dashboard. That I really like. I have a very important question, Katrina.
Yes.
was worried. It's like stigma public.
Mhm.
Which kind of email do you need? Tell me that you can register today with a Gmail account.
Yes, you can. That is again one of the differentiators between Sigma Public and Sigma itself, I guess, or Enterprise Sigma. You can create any or any account with a personal email or a professional email. It doesn't matter. I use my personal one, so go ahead and do that. But you can sign up with any email, and it's like I can. It's literally just sign in or create account. That button up at the top.
I think it's very important, like especially when you want to learn new tool.
Mhm.
A lot of times you cannot access. So imagine you're
Yes.
unemployed, you cannot access because you don't have a professional email.
Yes.
So I think it's a very, very good signal what you have done.
Yes. Yeah. Really excited to be able to bring this to people that are trying to learn Sigma. Like I had someone message me the other day about they're trying to find a job, and I was like go check out like I only know of job openings that include Sigma, because that's my bread and butter. And so I'm like, hey, like I'd happily recommend you if you know Sigma, or if you can show that you have some skill in Sigma, or can understand how to build in it. And so this is a great way to demonstrate, or to one, learn that functionality or learn that capability, but then demonstrate that for potential employers or those sorts of things.
Mhm. We've got a few questions. I want to kind of work
Yeah.
backwards a little bit. I think
Okay.
they all kind of fit in the sphere of this. So we have an serious anonymous attendee asking if could you go through the app, like answer the questions to see what happens at the end. I think they're referring to the Hans Zimmer
Oh, sure.
one. Maybe
Yes.
we could go through that and just see what the end result is. I think that's what they're asking.
We can definitely take the quiz.
I know.
Um,
I was looking at the question. I'm like, oh man, this is I don't know.
um, it's been a minute since I've done this. I think it's I know it's one of these two. I think it's this
Yeah.
one. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Here a piece about British naval warfare, Pirates of the
Yeah.
Caribbean.
Uh-huh.
It's one of his classics.
Classic.
Um,
Oh.
1995 submarine thriller. I believe this is Crimson Tide. Um, about a prince from ancient Egypt, Prince of Egypt. That one was, I remember I watched some people take this and they're like, that's too obvious. It can't be that one. And I was like, okay. This one's The Lion King.
Oh
Japan
yeah.
is The Last Samurai. Um, World War II film, and Christopher Nolan is Dunkirk. Uh, Oh, this one. This is kind of a tricky one because you have to be familiar with that novel, but it's Black Hawk Down.
Okay.
Um, Again, it's been a minute, but I'm pretty sure it was this one. Oh, this one is always so hard for me to remember.
I think
Because
I know this one.
I don't think I've seen any of these movies aside from the Lego movie, and I know that the Lego movie is not a sequel. So Garrett, do you have an answer for this
I
one?
think it's Despicable Me too. I watch all these movies all the time. That feels
All right.
right.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. Um, And then Sherlock Holmes is the Sherlock Holmes with
Mhm.
Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. So now on the back end, so we captured that information. We took all of those answers, and now we're writing it to this input table. And oh no, it's because I didn't change the username. And when we did the first demo,
Uh-huh.
that's why we're doing really good on this quiz of 13 out of 10. Um, but
That's great though. I love seeing these results.
yeah, so the Hans Zimmer, so it was the X-Men Days of Future
Okay.
Past. Um, oh, this one, I think that was
British
it
Naval.
again.
I guess that's
Yeah,
those are really close. That's a tricky one.
yes. But this is again, because we didn't do the wrong one, which now that I'm doing this, I should probably clear that out. I should go back in and fix this to make it easier. But you can, and then what is also cool about Sigma Public is
Uh-huh.
the fact that like we're interacting with this app, and so you can see it, and then all of that information is captured, and you can save it in there and save that percentage of how correct you got. Again, I'm going to go back in and fix that one. But yeah, this is This
No,
is
that's
the
great to
answer.
see.
If you do this again, you can, I made it randomized so you can do different questions than what we saw before. And then in a very traditional BI sense, you can also check out more about his movies. I made this a year or a year plus ago, so it's not up to date,
Sure,
but you
yeah.
can see information about his movies, and then
That's
made
cool.
it so that it'll take you to the Wikipedia page about this one, about whatever you want to click on.
That's awesome. Still have the header too. That's cool. Yeah, the embedded page.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yes.
Okay, I think this is the same attendee. I think this is relevant to what we just went through. And they asked, are they correct in saying that one of the apps that you showed earlier was an app that helped you build an app, i.e., guiding you through Sigma features? If so, can you remind them how to access that? I think that was just
Yeah.
someone's public app, right? That they had posted and it helped you or helped like give you
Yeah.
the blueprint to
So
build your own.
this was one of the apps that I showed before about how to do a specific functionality within Sigma.
Mhm.
So this is a blog. If we go back and create a new app, so any app within Sigma Public, whether it's a brand new one that you make or one that you've duplicated down here in the bottom or wherever you see this little, I don't know, can you see that, or is the little
Yeah.
pencil? Okay, there's the pencil, and I think it's from Zoom, and I just want to make sure that you guys can see it. But our little AI icon, so this is our AI assistant, which will help you build things in Sigma. So I can click on this and say, hey, I want to create an employee engagement survey. And now it's going to go run and determine like, what is an employee engagement survey? Like, what does that mean? And what are the components that we would need for it? And so it's reading some skills that we have created for it on the back end, and it's going to go through and create this for you. So it's going to ask you, hey, where do you want to write this or capture that information? Since again, everything's being written back to your warehouse. So you got to put it somewhere, and you got to make sure that you've got access to it. And so we only have access to one database here in Sigma Public, so it's going to be there, but it will go through and create this. So this was I think this might be the other thing that this person is referring to. But there also are some other folks that have created more like how-to type blogs or different things. Let me go back to, yep, that's fine. We also have a Team Sigma account. So this is kind of things that are from the organization of Sigma to create and check out. And so we have this video about getting started with agents. So this could be another thing to look for on Sigma Public about building specific features and specific assets.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I
That's
think
cool.
that, sorry, Garrett, in terms of enablement perspective, that is perfect to have like the little app to guide the user doing something, because you can enable that in a blog, on your
yes,
intranet
yes.
page, or you have it here. No, I think it's quite cool.
Yeah, and that's again I made all this before Sigma Public. I had made content. I'd put it on like my personal YouTube. I would write blogs for my employers, and I like had my own blog, but it was just like hard to get it out there and also like hard to scale because you had to have some way of getting access to a Sigma account. As Annabelle, you mentioned before, like you basically had to have a corporate email in order to access this. And so this is now a way that anyone can produce anything about Sigma and really help the community grow and expand. And I'm really excited to be able to see like what other people are doing. Like I know that there's cool things out there that people are doing, and I right now it's such a like you have to know someone who knows someone who knows that they're
Yeah.
doing something cool, and I just want to be able to share all cool things with everyone.
Mm-hmm. Adam Morse was asking, I think we kind of looked at it a little bit, but he was saying, understand the point with Sigma taking action on data, unlike Tableau Power BI. But he's asking, what does the data prep layer look like? With
Yeah.
Tableau, there's Tableau Prep, there's Alteryx, there's Power Query for other
Yep.
tools. But how is data prep handled in Sigma?
Yeah. So Sigma Public is exclusively the workbook experience right now. But Sigma Enterprise does have data models, which is our data modeling layer, as it sounds like, as you can tell. So that would have that's basically like Tableau Prep or Alteryx, where it's a different type of asset that you would create in addition to a workbook that lets you kind of curate a data model, curate data connections. But if you need to within a workbook itself, you can also do that. So I can create some joins, unions, do custom SQL, all of those fun data things. So it really depends on how reusable you want your data manipulation to be, whether or not you're trying to apply security at this additional level, and then there's some couple of considerations about performance and those sorts of things. But those are kind of the main three that I would think about of like workbook versus data model. But I can pull up a data model. I just need to stop sharing and sign into something else if that is of interest.
Sure, might as well.
Cool. Let me stop sharing. We'll need to sign into. I'll just sign into this one. I don't.
It's always fun having to log in on a live webinar, right? That's like peak anxiety.
Always live webinars are always a good time.
Truly.
Okay. So this is Sigma, the enterprise version of Sigma, the homepage of Sigma. So in here, I can create a workbook, as I said. We also have pixel perfect reporting. So if you need to like have an order, like, hey, I'm going to use an Sigma application to submit an order, but I want to have like a PDF version of that, or a lot of like banking customers need really specific reporting in very specific ways. And so that's another option. But as we said before, we also have a data model. So I can come in here, and I do not have this enabled on this org, but you would have the ability to have our AI assistant help you with this as well. But I can just go to my data sources, and again, I've got that same connection basically that's in here. Let's do Plugs Electronic. That's kind of our big or like sample retail company.
Yeah.
So this would be like a point of sales table. So I can add this one, and then we can add another retail one. So they did point of sales, so probably sales. This is just a little bit of more information. And then in here, I can create relationships that are then make it easier to be used in a workbook that is kind of based off of this data model. Again, as I said, I could just create a join in here. So if we want to do just a very simple join between these two things, I can use the elements that are already in my workbook, which is since we're here, one of the early things that I really loved about Sigma was the ability to, like, in with Tableau or Alteryx, you have to use your, like, it's like very step kind of pieced out. And with Sigma, especially when you're doing this in workbook, you can manipulate things and then use that in your analysis just like a little bit easier since it's all within workbook. But this is the join. Very simple. Can preview this output, just get a little visual indicator. So for example, I don't need my order number in here twice. I can just remove or uncheck that one and then click done. And then this is my join. I also can create metrics in here. So this is like a reusable, defined, like if we wanted to have like a profit calculation, for example, and wanted to make sure that everyone was doing the same thing, I can create that calculation in here. And what's really cool about metrics versus in row, so like this would be like, that would be an in row calculation. A metric is going to aggregate at whatever level of aggregation you put it at. So it's very reusable across the board. You don't need to think about, oh, well, let me like include or exclude certain things to make sure that it's actually mathing correctly. Sigma handles all of that for you.
Yeah, that's really cool. I hopefully that answers the question on data modeling. For me, it's like, yeah, I think if you've used any sort of data prep thing and another thing, this is going to be very intuitive and very easy. Seems pretty streamlined as well. if it makes sense to me, a small marketing mind, that's going to make sense to data people. So
Yes.
it's really
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that. I think
Yeah.
that's really cool and interesting to see. You had mentioned it. I know we got a few more questions, but I
Mhm.
would love for you to talk about the kind of the AI component because we were starting to touch on the AI assistant, and then you had showed the
Yeah.
agents and everything like that. So can you give us like a little intel on, when we're talking about AI, when we're talking about agentic stuff, how is that handled in Sigma and specifically like Sigma Public? What level
Mhm.
of functionality are people able to take advantage of within Sigma Public?
Yeah. Yeah. Our goal or our objective with Sigma Public is to let people do as much as we can.
Mhm.
I will put the caveat that some things just don't make sense in a public setting. So we have to always have that light in there. But we do offer our kind of our three main components of AI in Sigma Public. So that's going to be the assistant that we see here. So you can think about this as helping me Sigma better. So it can be creating things. So for example, we gave it a prompt and it came back and created this. Now I can go in and I could say, hey, I want to change something about it, or I can type out a prompt for it. If I already have work or like some data in here, I can use these other kind of agents or other modes to help me understand my analysis or kind of think about what I want to do. Personally, I really like to use the plan to say like, hey, I've made this, how can I make it better? What are some ideas? It kind of helps me like ideate on things. Another like super awesome functionality of Sigma Public the builder in Sigma Public specifically is generating fake data. I build a lot of demos, so just being able to like pop in, say, hey, give me some fake survey results, and then also helps you make sure that you've got your build in a good way, in a solid way. You're putting it kind of through a live test, so that makes it easier. The other or another one that we have is something called AI columns, which is basically using an LLM on your data. So it could be something where it's like, hey, I want to classify this answer as like do a sentiment analysis. It can be helping you fill in information like if you're trying to capture information from end users and they spell things incorrectly, or I don't know if you've ever done a survey and it's like, where do you live? And it's like Minneapolis, Minnesota, United States. And you're like, well,
Yeah.
these are like technically yes, but let's make sure that they're all kind of in the same thing. So just getting some answers like that. And then the third one is agents, as we saw in that other video. Sorry, a little Zoom share thing. I don't know how to make that go away. But what we saw in the other one of is it this one? Yes. So Sigma agents are a kind of they're similar to the builder, but you really should think about them as helping my end users Sigma better, or do something in Sigma, or facilitate some sort of action or workflow within Sigma. This agent is set up to be like a marketing assistant, so we can see, hey, I'm looking to analyze customer feedback of these returns, and it's asking us for some information about here, let me just duplicate this one and then I'll show you the back end.
Oh, yeah.
It'll make more sense there. So this is, again, the back end. This is the agent. And so this is going to be the agent configuration panel. So you can see that we have a agent to help you build an agent. So you
Mhm.
could say like, hey, I want to customize something else, or I want to add more data sources. But then you can really give this agent a job and help it do anything from helping someone understand or analyze their data. So it could be like, hey, I'm just trying to understand what people are saying and ask questions about it, all the way up to performing actions and facilitating workflows on its own. A really good example of that is the Ensure LLM one from Team Sigma. This is a very agent forward demo where this agent is set up to check for policy renewals in the next 90 days and kind of help us understand like what should we do
Mhm.
about the fact that there's something. So again, I'm doing some analysis, but then I'm doing some sort of action, or having some sort of response to it. And then over here on the right, we can see that there is a scenario detail, so for scenario modeling. So that's one of the use cases that Sigma is really, really good at, is asking these like what if questions, because we're able to capture all of the attributes in that what if question or all the variables in that formula. Through the input table, we can recall them, we can run analysis on it and do all those sorts of things. So this is something where we can ask it for, and just to skip to kind of the end of the demo, what would happen if we install sprinklers on a higher risk policy. So a lot of these policies are high risk because they're old buildings and they don't have sprinklers installed in them. So it's saying, I'm giving it kind of a vague instruction of saying, like, I didn't give it a specific one. Of course, I could give it a specific policy number, but it found a higher risk policy. It knows what that means, and then it's performing some action on it. And so it's doing that analysis. And then over there on the right side, if you saw that update, it is now performing those actions. And so this is the same thing that a human could come in here and click and type and do all those sorts of things, or I can have the agent start it for me, and then I can customize it or do tweaks on it, or I can just let the agent do the agent things. So agents are really powerful, really exciting, because again, I think they're one of the things that is unique about Sigma is the ability to have anyone create an agent. And so you can have people that are, on the traditional view or traditional folks that would be building agents. So like think about like data teams or data scientists or those sorts of data engineers, that persona. But then you can also have non-data people making agents, and you can have them getting the information that is out of their head and creating something to be their assistant. And then what's really awesome is when those two things come together. So I think Sigma's really great at being able to show what is possible. And then if the data team makes something and the business person makes something and you put those two things together, you're going to get a really powerful asset.
Mm-hmm.
I think I really like while you're going with between the agent and the AI assist. And what I also like is that you have the plan AI assist that help you like to improve also. Not only like build it for me, but tell me how to build it so I can improve with the time. It's very important for me, the community, the enablement part of it. And if Garrett allowed me, I would love like to switch a little bit the conversation on the community part. What are you plan for the future in Sigma on this topic?
Yeah. So obviously Sigma Public is a huge component of that. I think it is, personally, I think it's a huge unlock to driving the community. Again, as I said before, it was kind of you had to know someone, or you had to have a public, or you had to have access to an account through an employer or like a consulting firm was a very typical way to facilitate that. But now anyone can build anything, and there isn't as much of a concern around, hey, I've got this really cool solution, but it's on our internal data, so I can't share it with the public. And with the ability to create those things and share it, it's going to really inspire other people to do different things. One of the things that we didn't get to when I was doing my walkthrough, but we just released the ability to follow other users. So it will come to, I think it's just loading that part, but you can follow users. So again, like the Team Sigma one, Sean creates he creates a lot of really cool like how-to things. Linda, as we saw at the beginning, she was the winner of those Builder Challenge. That's all I followed so far. I just haven't gone through and clicked follow on a lot of these things. But this one, for example, the sales pipeline was released really, really recently, and I just love it. I think it's beautiful and it's functional, and I think that this is such an inspiring design for people. I think in particular, like having the labels on here. So long story short, or like I could talk about Rambly or Sigma Public all day, but the things that we are working on for the Sigma Public roadmap are going to be driving events, giveaways, competitions, like those kinds of things to help people be engaged with Sigma Public. So really strongly encourage anyone who's on this webinar to go check it out, go sign up, and get on board with a lot of the things that we're going to be releasing. There's, as I said before, there's a lot of functionality we want to add around like favoriting and voting, like reacting to things of saying like, oh, I like this, I love this, like that kind of thing. There's a lot of other just functionality around being able to find different things that are on Sigma Public. So I'm a business user. I'm looking for sales pipeline. What if I don't actually call it sales pipeline? We want to make sure that's really easy for people to find the things that they're looking for. So that's a lot of the things for Sigma Public. The other things that are out there are a Sigma user meetup. So if you scroll down here, this is the next Sigma user meetup that's coming. These are once a month. It's the second Wednesday of each month, I believe. Yeah. And it's virtual. They're very chill, similar to this setup where it's just kind of someone coming and talking about cool things that they're doing. I would really love to expand this and have in-person ones. It's just something that we're trying to find the right people who want to engage in this. So if there's anyone on the call that wants to help facilitate an in-person Sigma public, or excuse me, a Sigma user meetup, or help with the virtual one, please feel free to reach out to either the organizers or myself. I'm happy to get people connected. And then we do also have a community page as well, just a very traditional uh, so this is kind of a, post questions, get answers. So this person, is wanting to understand how to implement a specific function. And so this individual, Amelia, she's really great. She posted an answer. So there's a lot of ways that we want to think about like connecting these things and bringing it all together. But I would say in general, or in short, the Sigma community is growing, but there's still an opportunity for anyone to participate and become a voice if you want to be. I think about some other communities, which are, of course, in any community, there's always space for new people and those sorts of things. But I remember being intimidated by the saturation of some spots, and so Sigma is open and it like there will always be space. Of course, I don't want to say that other communities are not opening or welcoming or anything like that. But Sigma is in a unique spot where if you do want to create a voice or persona, a brand, a career around it, highly recommend getting in on the ground floor.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if you're looking for someone to help you with community things, I know someone and she's on this call and she may
Yeah.
have been doing it for a long time for in a lot of
Yes.
different assets. But no, I think that's really exciting. That's an important message, I think, to send that, this community's growing. It's building, it's open to anyone and everyone. I think building off of that is going to be incredible for you all, obviously, as you build a tool. Because one thing I will say personally that I really enjoyed about Sigma is that, which is different from other providers as well, is the ability to actually listen to the community and actually maybe deliver on the things the community wants. What a concept! So that's pretty cool, I think. So I think that's another
Yeah.
thing for people who are interested in is certainly whatever feedback, whatever useful things you're putting out there, it gets listened to. It gets taken into consideration seriously. So
Yeah.
I think that's
And
something that's really great.
I will say that that was one of the things that originally drew me to Sigma was I started doing a lot of stuff and provided this big long doc of feedback, and I got a request from our co-founder, or from Sigma's co-founder, is like, hey, I'm the co-founder of Sigma, can I look at this? And it was like, oh my goodness, like of course. Like this is so exciting. And so to just have as you said, I will reiterate, like feedback is always listened to,
Mhm.
and we appreciate hearing like what people are struggling with, because if we don't know that it's a problem, we can't make it better.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. Definitely don't want to, can't commit to everything, but we do listen. And I do remember a very specific conversation with one of the PMs, and this was 4 years ago now, I think, where I was really trying to get something across, and I had this mindset of, well, this is how this other tool solves this problem. So I want to be able to do that. I want to do this, and I want Sigma to do X, Y, and Z. And he kept pushing back and saying, well, like, well, why? Well, why? What are you trying to solve for? What is this? And it got to this point where I was like, oh, if I just tell him like what I actually want to be able to do,
Yeah.
like my end goal or the pain point that I'm trying to solve for, I don't have to come up with the solution. I just have to trust that this
Mhm.
guy is gonna deliver on it, and they did. And so that was, I think, one of the really how do I say it, like a an indication that Sigma not only was a good product, but a good company and a spot in like an organization that I wanted to be a part of, whether it was, I mean, again, at the time it was externally, it was still external, but it was something where it's like, oh, they actually care. They actually
Mhm.
do want to implement my feedback. And that's really exciting. And again, one of the things about, being an early voice, you do get to help kind of decide or like say, hey, this is what our organization is really struggling with, or wouldn't it be cool if it did this? And again, we want to create something that is meaningful and impactful, and powerful for our end users.
Mhm. This is, we got 5 minutes, so
Yeah.
we'll try and crush through the questions that have been asked. This one was asked earlier on, and I think it's more general. It's more kind of like maybe in your experience in terms of navigating data, whatever that looks like. But Mariela Gonzalez Nieves is asking, it seems that in every corporate workplace, you have to navigate through a number of hurdles just to get access to data. You had mentioned that, right? Of that being an issue. How have you overcome some of those restrictions as you've
Mhm.
gotten on your data journey?
Yeah. I think the couple of things that come to mind are making sure that you have the right stakeholder
Mhm.
involved. And a lot of the times when I couldn't get access to data, it was because I was not the right stakeholder. Or I didn't have enough like power in the organization. And so it's making sure that the right people are in the room, to be able to make that decision. And then being able to translate or articulate to that individual why it's important to the business. Hey, I want data, access to data because I think it could be cool is like, sure, but maybe not the most impactful thing. And there can be like sometimes there's a security risk where there's like, oh, well, we have to do this like workaround or something like that. And so just making sure that you can articulate how it benefits the business, which then just to follow that through implies that you know how it benefits the business. And that is, I would say, kind of the main thing of making sure that like whatever you're building is somehow contributing to either a positive initiative, hey, we're trying to add to this number or we're trying to subtract from this number, making sure that's aligned with those things. The other thing that I would say is sometimes there can be friction because of process or because that's how we've always done things. And sometimes showing an example or prototyping something with fake data can be really helpful just to show like if the individual or the stakeholder or the decision maker can't envision what it would be like, being able to show them something, using the assistant or going on to Sigma Public and saying, hey, look at that. Like that is a thing that we could build. Here's an example of what it is. I have always found it easier to show someone something than to be like, imagine a world where all of our problems are solved by
Yeah.
giving me access to this data.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. There's two questions here that I think they're kind of asking the shade of the same thing. Jan Tanner in the Q&A was asking, and he admits it might be difficult to answer, but in your opinion, is Sigma easier to use than Power Apps? And then another question is, does Sigma contain a lot of the features that Tableau does? They're essentially asking, can I do what I
Yeah,
can do in Tableau and Sigma? So kind of those shades of,
yeah,
how easy to use, what can Sigma do relative to, the rest of the
yep.
field?
Yeah. Yes. I would say that in any comparison, there's always a shade of that Venn diagram. Like, we can do the. I would say that you could answer the question in like we can do the objectives that Power Apps, that Tableau, that insert any BI platform or any application building platform can do and more, but we might not check the same boxes as other things. Sigma is trying to create its own path, and we are making decisions that are, hey, we think this is worth the investment. Like we think building out some of these things are a better investment for our end users than perhaps some of these other things that traditional BI platforms or traditional platforms decided to do. Maybe it was a long time ago, or they are doing. So yes, with an asterisk is generally the answer to that question of can I do the same things? It might look a little different. I think a great example of that is using LODs from Tableau. So in LODs, level of detail, like what am I trying to aggregate this calculation to? In Sigma, you create a grouping table. And one of the things that you can do in a grouping table is have multiple levels of a grouping table. So you can say, here's my profit by store, by state, by region, all within that same calculation or all within that same element, and same view. And then you can reference and reuse those calculations. And so yes, it's the same objective, but I don't need to do it in exactly the same way. And then how easy is it? I would say that Sigma is one of the easier platforms to use. I think that our ability to have a builder assistant, that's obviously a very easy natural language. I can just type in a prompt as we saw in Sigma Public. I don't necessarily have to know what to do in Sigma Public. I don't need to know the Sigma elements, or excuse me, the Sigma elements, but I can know how to ask that question. That's something that I think is very easy to do. And then Sigma is a very spreadsheet based or table based visual representation. So that would be something as a lot of business users are a little bit more familiar with, and just makes it a little bit easier to kind of like, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to type in my formula and just kind of go from there. I will say that anytime you have a new platform, there's always going to be a learning curve, whether it be what menu option am I clicking on, or hey, what is what is the name of this? Like, I think, for example, a lot of BI platforms, a lot of other platforms use the term parameter. We use control element, and just kind of knowing the language, knowing the lingo, what to click on. Those are always going to be things. But I would say that in general, it's very easy. But of course, go check it out for yourself. As we saw, go check it out on Sigma Public and explore how it works for you.
Yeah. Do you have like 3 more minutes? We can answer 2 more questions. Okay, cool. One is asking, this should be an easy one to answer. How is AI Assistant, which we demoed and looked at earlier, different from Ask Sigma?
Yeah, so great question. So a little bit of history in that answer of, we had something called Ask Sigma that was in the homepage, and then we had a in workbook builder assistant, and then we had agents and we had AI columns, and it was like, okay, we've got AI everywhere, but it was a little confusing to people, and so we have consolidated the functionality, or consolidated the branding under AI Assistant. So the answer to your question is, they're the same thing. There's just 2 different windows or 2 different interfaces into it. So on the homepage is AI Assistant, where that is, I can access the AI Assistant to do a very straightforward kind of think ChatGPT or just conversation, where I'm asking a question, I'm getting data, I'm seeing the analysis and that sort of thing. And then I can open that into a workbook if I want to, and continue on the analysis within a more traditional Sigma experience. And then again, the assistant can, once you're in a workbook, it can help you do the same things that the analyze portion was doing of Ask Sigma, or the AI assistant was doing on the homepage, but now it can help you build. So it's pairing the right AI functionality with the interface that you are engaging it with or in.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good distinction. Okay, last question. You're doing great. Rachel Morris is asking on data access. She's mentioned that she runs into a lot of dev side pushback because they've been burned by people using data without understanding architecture. Makes sense. They don't have time to handhold when the data appears wrong. Finding the gatekeeper. Oh, this is a statement. Hey, this is just good advice. Yeah. I was like, oh,
yes.
I found it. Yeah, but no, that's great. Finding the gatekeeper and gaining their trust is critical. So true. So true. And in terms of making those partnerships and making it make sense. You mentioned that in your answer of make it make sense, make those relationships. If it's a good relationship, those people are going to be way more likely to trust that you're going to be responsible with that.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah.
I wish we had another hour. That's that's my statement. But I mean, Annabelle, is there anything before we let Katrina get to her very busy day? Anything else on your mind that you can think of that's worth asking? Or
no, I think that is great. I cannot see what's next for you. Whatever you will launch, like this champion program, or what's next on the Sigma Public, maybe you will have soon an advent calendar done on Sigma Public.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Please build anything and everything on Sigma Public. That, as I mentioned, is a lot of where my personal time is going. And I'm super excited, just as a former user, former external user, and obviously a current internal user. This is the thing that I've wanted for so long, and I'm just so excited to be able to find other cool data people doing cool data things. So please come hang out, come join, participate. I'm very excited to meet everyone and to hang out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining and sharing all this. This is awesome. I love seeing Sigma Public. And I just, like you said, I love hearing from people who have witnessed a lot of change, who have gone through the tools and done all the other things, and to see them, what gets them excited, stuff like Sigma and all that. I definitely encourage people to go check out Sigma Public. If they want a demo of Sigma to go, definitely give that a shot. If they're looking for any Sigma services, anything, obviously contact Interworks. We would love to help you migrate. We'd love to help you build stuff. We'd love to help you do whatever you want to do. But I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing this with us. Super fascinating, exciting. Makes me want to go build something. I want to go learn it now. So
Yeah. Yes. Well, thanks
Let's
for
do
having
that,
me.
Garrett. Thank you
Yes.
for coming, Katrina.
yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for everyone for tuning in. This will be live. There will be an email, by the way, an email of the recording or a link to the recording for people who want to rewatch it or maybe share it with a colleague or whatever. So anyone who's still on, yep, just be sure to check that. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.